welcome you this evening to the council meeting. We know we heard a report at the committee level, and so now we're opening it up for during the legislative work session for our citizens to hear as well. And if we have any questions that we could have thought of between committee and now, I'm sure that you'll be more than capable of answering those questions. So if you don't mind, give us your name and address for the record and then do your presentation.
Absolutely. Well, my name is James Bence. I'm at 8080 Ridge Valley. I am in Cherokee County, not from here. So I'm James Bence. I'm the partner with Mauldin and Jenkins, and I was the engagement partner for the city's June 30, 2020 financial audit. Before you now, we've got the auditor's discussion and analysis that I'm going to go through. As before, I'm not going to hit every page, but certainly hit highlights and go over any questions you all may have. I'm going to start on page 2, just to kind of give, again, a brief overview. Mauldin and Jenkins is the independent audit firm that conducted the city's audit for the June 30, 2020 financial statements. About 30% of what our firm does is serve local governments. There's 15 partners and directors. Myself is included in that group that do nothing but serve local governments year round. So it's an industry we're very heavily committed to and very heavily involved in. Certainly one that I've spent a good bit of all of my career serving. I've been with the firm for 18 years now, and again, I spend 100% of my time serving local governments. I served as the engagement partner, and we have a quality control partner, Meredith Lipson, who is involved, and she reviewed the financial statements before they were released to ensure that we complied with all of the government auditing standards as well as generally accepted auditing standards. Going to page 4, maybe, there we go. So the high-level summary, the results of the audit, we conducted, as I said, our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards with the intent of issuing an opinion as to whether or not the city's financial statements as prepared by management are materially correct as presented. That does not mean that we give 100% assurance or absolute assurance on the information in there, but that as management has presented it, it is materially correct. And so we did issue an unmodified opinion, which is the clean opinion that you want to receive, which does state that. On page 5, it's delayed, there we go. So on page 5 of our report, we issued our internal control report, which this year I'm happy to report we had no material weaknesses in the city's internal control structure, and we had no instances of non-compliance to report. On page 6, kind of the takeaways that don't stand out in our opinion, we do review your accounting policies and procedures and any estimates and judgments used by management in the presentation and the preparation of those financial statements. And through that process, we did not note any unusual or outside of the norm for your industry for a local government municipality. We did not notice any unusual accounting standards treatments of the judgments. On page 7, one item that I just want to take a moment to kind of commend Karin and her team. Through this year, you all obviously in your financial statements, as you go through them, you'll notice you have several funds. You've got your general fund, your SPLOST fund, several non-major funds. And we only had one auditor-related journal entry for this year's audit. It was a very minor adjustment, but it dealt with the classification of a rental lease payment and moving that from the expense to the balance sheet to reduce that liability. Very minor adjustment, but again, having one adjustment when you look at the scope of what we looked at is something to definitely be proud of from your management standpoint.
And we're on page 141 for the council members on our tablets. I apologize, Mr. Bean.
Thank you.
Bence.
All right, well, while it's frozen, going into the next slides that we're going to look at are pages 9 and 10 from our document, which is your revenues and expenditures for the year for your general fund. So your general fund is obviously your main operating fund and usually where we'll take a look to see how the year went. So on page 9, you'll see for your revenues, very consistent with what you would expect from a local municipality. Your main 2 revenue sources are your property taxes and your sales tax. Going to page 10, you'll see kind of the general fund expenditures and where those dollars were spent. And very consistent, again, with what you would expect to see with a local municipality. Your general fund's main dollars are going towards the general operations of the city as well as the public safety, the police department services. very consistent with other local governments who have a SPLOST. A lot of your capital roadway improvement projects are not in the general fund, which is why your public works line item's not a large one for your city. On page 11, the next slide we're going to get to is just the 5-year trend of how your general fund revenues and expenditures have gone for the past 5 years. Kind of the big takeaway there is you'll notice the green bars are the revenues and transfers in, which exceed your expenditures for the last 5 years, which will take us into page 12, looking at how your net change in fund balance for the general fund has looked. And so you'll see here, the big takeaway is the last couple of years we've been adding $2 to $3 million to our general fund balance each year. This year, with the COVID-19 and the scale back of some of our revenue sources, we were still able to add 322 to fund balance. So still had a positive year this year. What that leads into on the next slide, on slide 13, is when you look at your fund balance as it relates to your expenditures for the year, that's where a lot of people look to try to evaluate, well, what does that mean on my general fund's health? And so here you can see GFOA recommends that a government typically have around 3 months of reserves in their general fund. When you look at your general fund balance compared to the annual operating expenditures, and you'll see for 2020 at the end of the year, you ended with about 198 days in fund balance. So you're sitting closer to 6 months instead of at the 3-month recommendation from GFOA. So your general fund looks good. With that, again, reiterating, we had no material weaknesses this year in the audit report. The remaining portion of the presentation here just goes into there's about 11 new accounting standards that are coming out over the next 2 to 3 years being applicable for the city. And so we always work with management to make sure they're aware of those standards and that they're proactively addressing them before the implementation dates. But we always want to make sure that the governance has the information before them as well. Obviously, you all are the decision makers for the city, so the decisions you all make will change which statements and standards may be applicable over the course of time. So, rest assured, we do work with management proactively to address these, but again, the information is there and always available to you all. If you have any questions as you move through the year, certainly feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to help with any of those. And with that, that's my presentation. If you all have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Any questions from council members?
Madam Mayor, I'd just
Yes,
like
sir.
to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Bence and also for staff, for Ms. Callan and Mr. Byrd and the entire staff there on another year of a job well done. Appreciate the efforts of all. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you, staff, for keeping us conservative, to put us in a position that we do have a healthy reserve in case we need it. And of course, we know that we had to use some last year because of COVID and shortfalls of resources coming in, and our expenditures did not change. So it's a blessing to be able to be in a position that we have a reserve. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Mr. Bence. Thank you, Ms. Callan. Any other comments from council members? Thank you. Not seeing any then we'll move on to item number 5, which is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time under the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, sir. Finance Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
3
welcome.
items tonight under finance. This is a repeat of our 5 o'clock meeting. A, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2020-2021 general fund budget. Ms. Callan?
Yes, Karin Callan, Finance Director, 6695 Church Street. This is our 3rd general fund budget amendment for this fiscal year. We'll start with the revenue adjustments. The first group is for Hunter Park and adjusting for the COVID-related program and rental losses that we had. The next group are Parks Athletics, and right now we are at 30% of what they normally do, so we are adjusting those downward by $66,000. West Pines, on a positive note, is we're adjusting that upwardly by $50,000. They are due to have a record year this year. Going into general government revenues, an increase of $732,000, and that's due to property taxes, Greystone Power franchise tax, title ad valorem tax, miscellaneous revenue for the amphitheater naming rights, and our auction proceeds. We do have a downward adjustment for interest income because of interest rates are declining. a total of $151,000 increase overall, but we are able to, by the time you net your revenues up and down, we can add $466,000 to basically reduce our use of fund balance from 2.5 million to 2 million. Moving on to the expenditure side, we have some expenditure increases for West Pines, and that is due to the increased activity. We have a lease for $33,000 for the flock safety cameras for the police vehicles. Building rental of $36,000 for the old rent for the old conference center. $75,000 for the compensation study and for Robert Half, and then we're taking that from full-time line item for street maintenance because they have been without 3 positions for the entire fiscal year.
Questions, comments? I know we've heard this already today. Again, great job, Ms. Callan. I want to make sure that everyone sees that the bright spot again and a positive revenue source is our municipal-owned golf course. And I'm very thankful for that in a year when we need some bright spots. So, great job, Mr. Cartwright. Go ahead, Ms. Callan, to the next area.
All right, the next page is the distribution of our PHL and our sick leave buyback programs, and that's a total of $193,000 that's distributed between all the department line items. And that
Okay.
concludes general fund.
Questions, comments? Any reason why we would not be able to add these items to our consent agenda for Monday? If we could, please. Coach, do you have any questions concerning that presentation, sir?
No, sir. I'll reserve my comment for item C.
Thank you. We'll move on then to item B, authorize an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2020-2021 tax allocation district fund budget. Ms. Callan?
We are almost through our property tax collection cycle, and we have received to date $331,000 for our tax allocation district fund, and that just lines up our budget. And it will stay in this fund until you appropriate it to a certain function.
Questions, comments? Anyone? Once again, I'll ask Coach Watts, who is with us virtually. I started to say spiritually. I'm sure he's that also. But we do appreciate your presence, Coach. Since I can't see you, do you have any questions concerning this particular item, item B?
No, sir. No, I'm good.
Okay. Once again, I'd ask that this be placed on the consent agenda if that's appropriate. I'll move on to item C. Authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Landscape Unlimited LLC for the construction and renovation of the bunkers at West Pines Golf Club. Mr. Chris Cartwright, our golf pro, is going to present that item. Go ahead, Mr. Cartwright.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good
Chris
evening.
Cartwright, 9090 Rose Avenue, Douglasville, Georgia. So before you have a 81-page document there that the Finance Department has prepared that summarizes the financials of this project. Included in it is the RFP that we use to bid out the project, as well as the bid tabulation information. It is our recommendation to proceed with Landscapes Unlimited LLC. Not only were they the lowest bid received, but they are arguably the most qualified golf course construction in the industry. They've done numerous municipal projects throughout the country, as well as working on some of the esteemed clubs around the country, like Atlanta Athletic Club, Augusta Country Club, Torrey Pines South Course, and Arnold Palmer's Bay Hill Club and Lodge. So numerous PGA Tour stops, numerous golf courses that have hosted majors, and we're excited to add our name to their list of accomplishments. Again, they were the lowest bid, and even though we reserve the right to use our criteria to judge the bids, it seemed like the biggest no-brainer to move forward with the lowest bid in this, for this project.
Are there questions or comments? Mayor Pro Tem, I see you turning your mic on, so I'll yield to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just want to say I'm impressed by, you've got 6 bidders on there, and I'm accepting one. 5 of those bidders all came in very, very close to each other. That's usually the sign of a very tight contract and set of documents that went out. So there's something like, looks like maybe a $30,000 spread at most. So that's pretty good.
Yes, sir. I will give most of the credit there to the architect that we contracted with last time we were here, Mr. Bergen. He set the budget for the project, and including his fees, we are about $10,000 under budget if we can stick to these figures.
Other questions, comments? Great job, Mr. Cartwright. Coach Watts, do you have any question? I think you said something about mentioning a comment or having a question on this item.
Well, I'd just like to say that, as you wrote out earlier in a previous agenda item, how well the golf course is done. And the golf course is done well because of the leadership between Travis Landrum and Chris Cartwright, and just some of the improvements they made to the golf course. Golfers are not going to golf on a golf course that's not well kept. So they've done a great job in this bid process. As Mayor Pro Tem pointed out, they did their homework and they did a great job. I'd like to thank them for that.
Thank you, Coach. If there are no other comments or questions, and if we all are in one accord, I think it's an exception to have found the contractor that Mr. Cartwright says is the best in the industry, and them be the least as far as the bid and have the highest score whenever the scoring was done by the group. And I'm thankful for that. So I would ask if we could place this on the consent agenda if that's proper.
Nothing but birdies.
So far.
How long have you been waiting to make that comment?
I know
Madam
it.
Mayor? Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Cartwright. Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight under finance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShun Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We have one item tonight under Personnel Organization. Item A, authorize the city's legal department to give notice of the city's intent to consider adopting an ordinance that moves the city charter's conflict of interest provisions to the City of Douglasville's Code of Ethics to allow the Ethics Board review complaints regarding conflicts of interest. And I believe Ms. Woodward is going to speak to this.
Okay.
Lynn Woodward, staff attorney for the City of Douglasville. Staff is suggesting this ordinance because a large part of ethics complaints are from conflicts of interest. Under the Code of Ethics, we have an ethics board that oversees complaints about ethics, but they are currently not allowed to review conflict of interest complaints because the conflict of interest provisions are under the city charter. The proposed ordinance will move those conflict of interest provisions from the city charter to the Code of Ethics under the city ordinance so that the ethics board can review conflict of interest complaints. Please let me answer any questions you have at this time.
Madam Mayor, do you have anything?
No, sir, I do not, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any comments or questions? Since I can't see you, I assume the silence means no.
No.
Thank you, Ms. Woodward. Is this something that we would want to put on the consent agenda since it's moving something from the charter to another area, or is it okay to put it?
I'll ask for you, Mr. Chairman. Do we have any opposition or concerns about putting this on the consent agenda for the elected body? No, sir, Mr. Chairman, it doesn't seem that we do. You can make, that recommendation to put it on the consent agenda if you would like to.
Okay, so we'll do that. Thank
Okay.
you very much, Madam Mayor. That's all I had, personnel organization.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to item number 10, which is Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We have several items tonight under planning and development. First is to hold a public hearing and consider a request for change in zoning from PRD, Planned Residential Development District, to amend the special stipulations of zoning to adopt a new PRD plan, site plan to reconfigure the garages of selected townhomes from front loading to rear loading, and to reduce the number of units from 185 to 182, and create an additional alleyway to address the egress and ingress for 18.23 acres on 5011, 5029, 5049, 5059 Reservoir Drive, and on Arbor Place Boulevard in Land Lot 23, District 1, Section 5, parcels 124 and 125, and Land Lot 24, District 1, Section 5, parcels 10, 11, 74, and 76. Application by Inline Communities, LLC. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. You all are somewhat familiar with this item. It's come before you a few times at this point. In February 2020, the applicant submitted a petition for annexation and a request for a change in zoning for 15.59 acres at Reservoir Drive. The site plan indicated one ingress and an egress on Reservoir Drive. A community meeting was held on Tuesday, May 19th via Zoom. The item was heard by the Planning Commission on Tuesday, August 4th, and recommended for denial. Then the item was heard by Mayor and Council on August 13th and August 17th. There was a request for the item to be tabled at the behest of the applicant. A community meeting was held on August 27th, where the applicant addressed concerns of the community and introduced a new site plan that included additional acreage, density, and ingress and egress. The item was withdrawn by the applicant on September 1st, 2020, and no action was taken by Mayor and Council. Subsequently, a new application was submitted with additional property and a revised site plan. The item was heard by Mayor and Council on October 15, 2020, and Monday, October 19, 2020. The subject property was annexed and rezoned to Planned Residential Development District with conditions. The applicant is requesting to amend the stipulations of a previously approved site plan. The site plan attached as an exhibit O20-05 5A indicates 185 units. The rezoning would facilitate minor modifications to the site plan of the previously approved development, which would now include 182 units. Additional modifications include townhomes that were previously front-loaded on the interior of the site plan are now proposed to be rear-loaded. Two additional alleyways have been added to support the reconfiguration of the units. No homes on the exterior perimeter of the site will be changed, and the interior is proposed to be modified to facilitate a better site plan. So essentially, we have a couple of changes here. We went from 185 townhomes to 182, and then they changed the front loaders, a few of the front loaders based on the diagram, or the photo that's been provided, to rear loading. So you have an alley going in between those that abut each other in that center photo, the photo that you should have.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Just as clarification before we call the applicant up, just to make sure the reason that we're here with this is because there's been any change at all in that development plan, and our UDO requires us to go back through the process if there is any, even though in this particular case, it would appear that both a lesser density and more rear-loaded units would be nothing but a positive for the community.
Right.
However, we're required to do this, and so here we go.
That is
Okay.
correct. No matter how small or big it seems, we have to bring it back before you, so.
Yes, thank you,
that's
Ms.
why we're
Williams.
here.
I'm assuming Mr. Fowler is going to represent this item he is approaching, so we'll welcome him.
Evening, everyone. Joseph H. Fowler, Post Office Box 489, Douglasville. I got a call from Mr. Musoff yesterday saying that he's going to be out of town, as are Beth and Ken. I'm here for another agenda item, and he asked me to receive any questions you may have that I can communicate to him. I told him it sounded like a win-win, just as you mentioned, Mr. Adams, and if you have anything, I'd be more than glad to take it back to him. I may have a little bit of understanding about what's going on. It essentially is the reworking of that portion that you see before you, highlighted in yellow, that makes those front-loaded to rear-loaded with the alleyways, and then the reduction of the units as mentioned.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Anyone else here? This being a public hearing, we need to give opportunity. So is there anyone else here that would speak in favor of this item tonight? We would like to give you time to speak if so. And if you would like to speak, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record.
Cindy Welch, 3002 Concord Way, Douglasville.
I just have a question. They're dropping from 185 lots to 182. Is that going to be the single-car garages that they're reducing? Does anyone?
Is there someone that
I don't
can-
have the new site plan, so I can't tell for sure where it is.
Is there someone that can answer that question for us by chance? I don't know. I don't know that that was given to us in advance.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I can find out tomorrow morning and call Cindy and notify.
And then we'll have that information on Monday. So Ms. Welch, you're just interested to see that as many units as possible would be 2 garages rather than 1, which I think
Right.
has
There
been
was
your
a
concern all along.
There was 185 lots. There was 91 that were 2-car garages and 94 that were 1-car. But from what I kind of remember from seeing at the planning meeting, I'm thinking that the alleyway is going to come through and maybe take a couple or 3 of the single-car garage units. But I don't have a copy of that now, so I don't know for sure, but that's what I was just wondering.
Let's ask Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams, do you have a copy of that site plan that we might be able to blow up large enough to tell whether or not those appeared to be single or double garages? I can't tell from my rendering.
Ms. Jackson worked on the project.
It's upside down, Joe.
So I can look really.
Ms. Welch, if you would, let Ms. Jackson respond to that for us, okay? Let's see if we can get you an answer right now.
Maya Jackson, 6701 Church Street. So from the looks of the site plan, you can't really differentiate from what's single and what is 2-car garage, but we can work with Mr. Musoff on getting you all that answer on whether the 3 units that were dropped were single or double garages.
Okay, so there's nothing on the site plan that will tell us the new number of double garages or the new number of single garages on the revised site plan?
No, sir. So the site plan doesn't indicate the garage number. It usually just indicates what's front load and
I
what's
see.
rear load.
Okay.
So we have 120 rear load townhomes and 62 front loads, but it doesn't specify how many garages they have.
Okay. Could we please get some clarification on that for Monday?
Yes, sir.
And we'll pass that along to Ms. Welch. Thank you, Ms. Welch.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Anyone else that would speak in support of this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we would ask if there would be anyone here that would speak in opposition to the item, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record. We would welcome your comment. Okay? Seeing none, then we'll close that portion of the public hearing, and we'll ask if there are any other comments or questions that Mayor or council may have. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, you've hit that button, so I'm assuming I need to yield to you.
Just practicing for my future in game show timing. I'm looking as closely as I can to the site plan. I'm surmising that the units that are shown with wider driveways are probably the double garage units. And it looks like all of the ones that have been flipped are double garage units, so as best I can tell. But anyway, what I did want to say, though, is that it's the biggest concern that folks in the neighborhood had was with property values and how this would affect it. And I think that this can only be a positive influence on property values because you're making more units more attractive by creating better street fronts for more of the units. So I'm encouraged by the change that's occurred.
Good point. Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Then we will move on to the next item. We'll take this up on Monday, and Ms. Jackson and Ms. Williams will get us an answer, Ms. Welch, for your question about what has been removed, okay?
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to item B, consider a request for approval of a development plan for Reservoir Drive townhomes for 18.23 acres on 5011, 5029, 5049, 5059 Reservoir Drive, and on Arbor Place Boulevard, land lot 23, District 1, Section 5, parcels 124 and 125, and land lot 24, District 1, Section 5, parcels 10, 11, 74, and 76, plans dated February 18, 2021, and again, application by Inline Communities, LLC. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The proposed plan shows a townhome development with a total of 182 units, 62 front-loaded units and 120 rear-loaded units, distributed between 31 structures ranging from 5 to 7 townhomes each. The site plan indicates access to the development from Reservoir Drive and Arbor Place Boulevard. A total of 407 parking spaces are planned. Amenities include a clubhouse, pool, dog park, and green space. In addition, to required landscape buffer, a good neighbor fence surrounding the perimeter of the property is required as a special stipulation of the zoning. The facade elevations show 7 perspectives of the proposed buildings. The proposed materials, all have been approved, are allowed per the UDO. City staff has reviewed the application and attachments and has determined that the proposed plans meet the development requirements of the UDO.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. So basically, the changes to the development plan are a result of the changes they want to make in the rear load, go to rear load away from front load, add the alley, and reduce the number of units.
Correct.
Everything else basically is the same.
Correct.
Okay. Questions, comments, council, Madam Mayor? All righty. Coach Watts, do you have any questions, sir? I'm sorry, I almost left you out again.
No, sir. No, sir. Thank you, but I don't at this time.
Please speak up if I leave you out, Coach. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Williams. We'll take this up then for vote on Monday and move on to item C. Consider a request for approval of a development plan for Family Dollar for 17.01 acres at 2115 Fairburn Road, land lot 82, District 15, Section 5, Parcel 4, for plans dated December 18th, 2020. Application by Rakesh M. Gupta, Vishal Midway Village, LLC. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The proposal currently depicts an expansion of an existing retail plaza to accommodate a new commercial tenant. The proposed expansion would consist of a one-story, 213 square foot new ground-up shell construction. The extension would be situated on a vacant portion of the western side of the lot. Midway Village Plaza currently has 12 units, including Jump and Joy and Douglasville Furniture Company. The applicant proposes the use of exterior insulation and finish systems and concrete masonry unit to match the existing facade of the retail plaza. City staff has reviewed the application and the attachments and has determined that the proposed plans meet development requirements of the UDO. There is some information, I will say, that is currently missing. We'll have it to you by Monday, but we are good with what we presented to you tonight. The applicant is not with us to answer any additional questions.
Okay. Let's see if Madam Mayor or council have any questions concerning the information you've provided. And I'll start with just one point to make sure that even though this is showing to be on 17 acres, this is basically just in addition to the existing, was it the Ingalls Shopping Center?
It is, it's before you get to the Ingalls.
It'd be the
I think
one
you said
it-
it was the old Winn-Dixie.
Used to have Winn-Dixie in it, so we know where it is, right behind the Waffle House. Yes, so they would actually be adding what you see on page 15 onto the end of that strip center, okay? Any questions or comments that we might go ahead and get out and waiting for additional information on Monday?
I just had a question about, we
Yes,
have a Family Dollar on Fairburn, but this is still Fairburn, but it isn't, it's on the other end, cross I-20.
That's correct. This is south of I-20, just a shade less than 1 mile on the right.
Okay.
Past the police building.
Municipal building?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I had.
Questions, other questions, comments? Yes, Ms. Miller?
I'm not really sure if this is a question or a comment, but I combined the Family Dollar and dollar stores because they're kind of the same to me. And we have, I think it was 26 of them in Douglas County. And I'm just wondering how many dollar something budget, whatever things that we need here in Douglasville. Am I the only one that feels this way?
26 within our city, Ms. Miller, or 26 within the county?
County.
I'm surprised at that number. I was not aware of that.
Now, I did combine, like I said, the two different names because
Yes.
they're, I think,
Valid
pretty much
question.
the same.
That's what I said. the
There's
ones-
4 or 5 right along Fairburn Road,
Yeah.
right there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Coach Watt.
I echo Ms. Miller's question. I was thinking the same thing myself. So,
Is there anything you all want us to pursue on this?
The question I had, was there 26 dollar stores or 26 of this specific brand? Just all, okay. So all dollar stores together, there was 26 of them?
So if I may add, there's only one other Family Dollar in the city limits, and that's the one nearest to Kroger on Hospital Drive. It's that plaza behind Wendy's and Churches. That's the only one that's in the city. All the others, while they're close to us, and of course they're in the county, but those are located in the county.
That's the old Forest Mart Shopping
Right.
Center.
Right.
For those of you that have been here for a while, like Ms. Danley and Mr. Davis and I. Yes.
I do have another question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Madam Mayor.
Ms. Williams, is this the same owner of the one on Fairburn near the Kroger?
I think they're different owners.
Okay, because that one needs some attention. You know, they have some broken windows, it's it's like ice storage out there. I just received a picture today. We had a camp of homeless people live in front of that store as well, so.
Okay.
Just like Councilman Miller said, it kind of breeds. Anyway, thank you. That's all. Just, and the distance between that dollar store, Family Dollar, and the other Family Dollar, they're both on Fairburn. What would the distance or ratio between the two be?
Well,
Maybe
well,
two couple
The one
miles?
in the county is less than a mile away.
Okay, less than a mile.
But the two in the city would probably be close to 2 miles
Yeah.
apart, if not more.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one last point.
Yes.
Sorry, I guess one thing I wonder, and I wouldn't have knowledge of this, wouldn't know how to go about even finding out, but I just wonder, the type of businesses that we have in the city and the county, how they reflect on the city and the county when other retail outlets are looking to move someplace. And I just wondered about the positive or the negative of too many of a particular type of business. I'm just kind of curious. I don't know who could answer that. But.
Thank you, Coach.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Estes.
I mean, I have heard of other municipalities that have placed limits on the numbers of dollar stores that are permitted. I think somewhere in DeKalb County just did that not too long ago. Can we research what those possibilities are, what other municipalities have done along those lines?
Are you all interested in limiting or distancing? Because there are two different, there are limits, and then there are some that have placed a distance between the dollar stores.
Well, if I might piggyback on Mr. Estes' comment, maybe what we need to see is some sort of information on what Ms. Miller has suggested to see, just the geographic location of where those other stores are, whether they be county or city, and then try to let that help.
I mean,
us make a
I just
decision.
know from, if I left this location that we're discussing now and went to my house, which is just a couple of miles, I would pass, I think, 4 other dollar stores on the way, just on Fairburn Road. So I agree that it does project something that I'm not sure we are interested in projecting.
Are you all also interested in the Dollar Tree brand?
Dollar Tree.
Yeah, I think all dollar stores.
Okay.
So basically what I think I'm hearing then is that we would like to have more information as to the total number of dollar stores overall within the community, both county and city, and the geographic location of those in working through this process.
Any other municipalities that may have some legislation in regards to limitations?
So where there's a corporate competition going on between them and Starbucks and Waffle House, just to see who can locate more.
Don't forget Dollar General.
Okay. Coach, did you have anything else?
No, sir. I think the way we're looking at it right now and what we're asking for information-wise from staff is a good start.
Thank you, sir. Okay. In the essence of time, we're going to move then. We'll take this up again on Monday, and we should have other information from Ms. Williams and/or the applicant for Monday. Going to item D, hold a public hearing and consider a request for a variance to eliminate the requirements in section 2.05S2 of the Unified Development Ordinance and allow site access onto roadways classified as local residential streets for 3.218 acres at 4959 and 4989 Reservoir Drive, Land Lot 23, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 12, and Land Lot 24, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 16. Application by Adevco Corporation, care of J. Michael Bell. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The subject property is located along Reservoir Drive and Arbor Place Boulevard. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow access to a local residential street. The proposed storage facility is approximately 107,000 square feet, a two-story building with a basement. Currently, there is only a right turn in and a right turn out access onto the site, which impacts the applicant's ability to develop the property. This condition also presents traffic safety concerns. An approved variance would be beneficial in providing additional ingress and egress to the property. The actions and circumstances did not stem from the applicant's own actions. The conditions were existing upon the property before the applicant purchased the land. The proposed variance will not affect the essential character of the neighborhood and will have a minimum effect due to low traffic volumes stemming from the proposed storage facility. The proposed development would be compatible with the existing and planned community.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. So this being a public hearing, we need to give opportunity to the applicant to make a presentation. Mr. Fowler?
Good evening, everyone. Again, Joseph H. Fowler, Post Office Box 49, Douglasville. Let me introduce Mr. Mike Bell, who is one of the principals with the corporation. They've developed these in other locations. They came to Douglas County because they're townhomes right down the street where people are going to need to have their storage. That and a host of other reasons because they're needed in the community. It's properly zoned for the proposed self-storage project. The only issue is this. Given the classification in the code of Reservoir Drive as a local residential street, access for the project is available only if there's this variance. So you've seen the site plan. They have access to Arbor Boulevard, but they do not have access to Reservoir Drive because of that limitation. This project will utilize about 60% or thereabouts of the site that you see on the site plan. There is another lot that's correctly zoned for another CG use that they may use in the future. This would be the access to that property, and so they have requested respectfully that the city grant this variance for that specific purpose. If you have specific questions, of course, Mr. Bell can answer those questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Questions, comments? Anyone?
So you're.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Hey, Mr. Chair, so you're asking to have, make sure I heard you correctly, you're asking for access, you currently have a right to access Arbor Boulevard, but you want, but not on Reservoir Drive, and you want to be able to have both, or one, or the other?
Yes, sir, they'd like both.
Both, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
And when you see the site plan, you'll see how the internal movement anticipates that.
Okay. Do you have a rough idea of the distance between where your Reservoir Drive entrance would be and the beginning of the townhomes?
Hi, I'm Michael Bell, Devco Corporation, 400 Northridge Road, Atlanta, Georgia. We're the applicant. I don't know the exact, if I understand it correctly from our civil engineer, the entrance to the property from Reservoir Drive is somewhere around 100, 120 feet from the intersection of Arbor Place and Reservoir. Mm-hmm. And then it's probably at least another 150 feet to the entrance of Arbor because they're in separate sides of the tract of land.
Yeah. Sure. Will your property butt up directly against the townhome development, or is there?
No.
There's a buffer space in between?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if you'll look on page number 31 of the packet for this item, I think you'll see that the entrance off of Arbor Place Boulevard will come in right almost at the property line immediately behind the strip center that faces Chapel Hill. And then you would turn left onto Reservoir and travel, as Mr. Bell has mentioned, possibly 150 feet to get to the access. So it has double road frontage, has frontage on both streets. And I believe the reason that we're needing this variance, Ms. Williams, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Fowler, someone, is that because Reservoir Drive is considered a residential street, we don't normally allow access of this type off that street. But residential now has changed in that area, being it has been single-family residential for many, many, many years, and I believe there's one single-family resident remaining on the street. Is that correct? That is correct. Ms. Welch is holding up 3 fingers. Okay. So other questions for the applicant?
I do.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
I'm not certain with the number of townhomes that we're proposing to have and the 3 residents that are there in the storage facility. Will we need a light, a traffic signal or something to kind of, it's going to seem like it's going to really impact traffic, especially those folks that are going for the commercial portion to the mall and in the area, in that landing shopping plaza?
So with the storage facility, we're not anticipating a lot of traffic. So if we needed a light, that would have come up in the traffic study that was prepared for the townhomes.
For the townhomes.
And that did not come up at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's going to start building up a lot and, people going into the mall. So just asking a question. Thanks so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions of the applicant? Okay. Is there anyone here, this being a public hearing, anyone else here that would speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. If not, if there's anyone here that would speak in opposition to the application, please come forward.
Cindy Welch, 3002 Concord Way, and I just met with a bunch of my neighbors in Heritage Valley, and none of us got a letter about this. So I guess it doesn't back up to us. It's only the townhouses that do. But where this property would come out at Reservoir Drive and Arbor Parkway, it's going to be a mess. And I don't think that we need townhouses, or I don't think that we need many warehouses in this location. Even if it says it's zoned for it, the streets will not take anyone going in and out of many warehouses. And I know what they are on Douglas Boulevard, and that's a commercial street. And we sure don't need them on Reservoir Drive and Arbor Parkway. I mean, I would like to see the site plan for that.
Can we make that available to Ms. Welch? It's online. Okay. Mr. Fowler is there. He'll hand you that one also, Ms. Welch.
Okay, well, I'll study this before Monday.
Sure.
Ms. Welsh, were you able to see a photo of the development?
No, I did not.
Come here for just a second, I'll show you, because
I mean,
this is
I don't
actually.
see anything exciting about mini warehouses.
These are actually indoor, they're not the exterior access ones. Okay,
It's not a location form.
okay, I just wanted to make sure that you had seen the building and the design of it, but.
It looks like, I don't know if you're familiar with mini warehouses.
Let's reel this back in, please.
All right, well, I
Ms.
just.
Welch, just,
I saw it just now, but
Okay.
those almost look like the ones at Powder Springs Road, or not in Powder Springs Road, but Powder Springs near the Home Depot. That's what they have done, 3 stories. And of course, that's on a commercial road also.
All right.
So I don't see how that's going to work on a residential. And if I was moving into those new townhouses, I'd have a fit knowing I have to go by that all the time to get out.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Coach, did you have a comment or question?
Well, I haven't had a chance to look closely at this, but I just, I guess the one thing that strikes me is that when we discussed another storage facility similar, a storage facility in the city, and their access to it roadway-wise, one of the things that was pointed out in that discussion was the low number of vehicles coming in and out. So I don't understand, and like I said, it's frustrating not to be there and be able to see things more clearly, but I don't understand the need for new entrances. If, you know, if Arbor Boulevard is available to them, I just wonder, you know, with such a low traffic type business come and going, why that wouldn't be enough and why we would need this variance. That's.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would speak in opposition to this application? Please come forward. Seeing none, then I'll close that portion of the public hearing. And Mr. Fowler, did you have something else you wanted to say in rebuttal?
Mr. Adams. This property has 2 lots. It's actually 1 lot, but there's a section of it, about 40%, that would come for later development that would use that portion. He is right, the coach is right, and as you've heard earlier, 10 to 12 cars a day is about it for that site. That's all that's anticipated. Won't be high volume, but there's another section of this that would need to use the lot on Reservoir, the access onto Reservoir Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, question, comment?
Yeah, so let me clarify, this is a private storage facility similar for individuals. It's not being used for corporate or any large scale. I mean, I guess I can guess this is similar to the one on Highway 5 at the interstate, correctly? Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
It's a commercial business for individuals' storage. We have it's usually about 90% residential stores and about 10% business, something like that.
So it's not likely there'd be very large moving trucks coming and going or anything like that?
No, most of the traffic is at most a box truck, which is, you know, the largest is 26 feet, but we don't get anything much larger than that. But most cars are vans, pickup trucks, and just automobiles.
Just people finding a place to put their
That's right.
stuff that they have too much of.
Store their junk.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any others? Okay, then we will move on. We'll take this up on Monday night. Thank you for your comments. Item E, last item. Consider a request for plat approval for the purpose of consolidating 2 lots, 12.23 acres at 1436 Municipal Parkway, Land Lot 734, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 4, and Land Lot 9 and Land Lot 745, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 2, application by Trimron LLC. Ms. Williams?
Okay, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. You all are somewhat familiar with this item. We presented it to you, well, at least Trimron, about a year ago. We inadvertently zoned them to PSP when we redid our zoning map, and so we had to make that change on their behalf. They're coming to us at this point because they want to combine 2 trikes. And so we do approve it. We've looked at the attachments that they provided us, the uploads and everything, and we're good with it. There was a question regarding their deed because they received bonds from the City Development Authority. That's been cleared up. The bond was in title only. You should see that as one of your uploads as well. And so we are comfortable with this item.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Questions, comments? Coach Watts, break the silence, sir.
I don't have anything at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. If there are none, then we will come back on Monday night and take this item up. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight.
Thank you,
Under
so.
Planning and Development. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to item 11, which is Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Public Relations Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We also have no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, I have one item.
Uh-huh.
Item A, hold a public hearing to consider a request for the change in agent outlet manager for the alcoholic beverage license for the on-premise sale and consumption of wine and malt beverage. At a spiritual look at the following establishment: current licensee, Blazing Wings, INC, DBA Buffalo Wild Wings, location 6790 Douglas Boulevard. Proposed agent outlet manager Brittany Hines. The required fees have been paid into the finance department. Will Ms. Hines please come down and state your name and address for the record, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. It's Brittany Hines, 6790 Douglas Boulevard.
Thank you. Is this your first management? So how long you?
Yeah, so I've been in the restaurant industry for 11 years. I've been at this Buffalo Wild Wings for 5 years this month.
Well, that's good.
But this is the first time my name will be on the license.
Oh, okay, good. What kind of requirements do you have when you have new staff members coming in on the alcohol?
Yes, sir. So we do require all our staff members to be National Restaurant Association certified. It's Serve Safe Alcohol, Responsible Alcohol Service course that they have to take, and they do have to recertify on that every 3 years. And it's like a 4-hour course with a test. If they don't pass, they can't do it. And then our company itself has regular responsible alcohol service training.
Very good. I know where y'all located. Mayor and council?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have we had, Captain Denning, any concerns about this site?
No, ma'am, we don't have any
Police
issues
Department?
there.
All right, thank you so much. The lemon pepper wings, oh, you have to stay. We still have some other people here. But yeah, the lemon pepper wings are
Yeah,
everything.
They
so.
good over there.
Yes,
Woo,
ma'am.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think other council members may have some questions.
Any
Ms.
other council
Hines.
members? Councilman Watts? Okay, Ms. Harris, at this time, Councilman Watts?
No,
Okay. At this time, Ms. Harris, we'll have a
no, sir, no
public
question.
hearing. And we give each individual 5 minutes to tell how they love those wings, and 5 minutes to tell how they don't want you to have the license. At this time, we open up the floor for those who love the wings. Look like we have no takers, and 5 minutes for those who speak against. Look like we have no takers. We're gonna close the public hearing, and if you come back on Monday, and we'll give you an answer.
Thank you.
And we do
Samples
like
are accepted.
samples.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Hines.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just kidding about the samples. Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 3 items tonight. Item A is to reappoint Kelly Bethea to serve as Post 5 Representative Ward 5 on the city's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a term expiring on February the 15th, 2024. I believe Ms. Jackson is going to address this.
Yes. she can.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman Watts. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. Mr. Bethe, he has served in his initial role for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and would like to be reappointed for a 3-year term expiring February 15th, 2024. And his resume, as well as the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board info, is attached to the agenda.
Ms. Jackson, he has served the last 2 years, or how long has he?
Yes, sir. It will
Sir.
equal out to about a year and a half from when they first initiated the Parks and
Okay.
Recreation
Well,
Advisory
we-
Board.
Right. Well, we just appreciate his willingness to serve. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Coach Watts, Mark Adams here. Just curious, Ms. Jackson, if we've had other people that had an interest that were not considered, or is this just an automatic because that's the only one that, or did we have to put this out?
No other individuals in Ward 5 were interested in serving on the
Okay,
board.
thank you. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Mr. Estes, you got anything since this is your ward?
No, I am good with this. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to item B is appoint David Abel to serve as the Post 8 representative, Culture Arts Council on the city's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for term expiring February 15th for the top post. I don't know. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Councilman Watts. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. Ms. Devon, this will be her first term serving in this role. If you all note that the Post 8 representative must be recommended by the Cultural Arts Council. The initial role was served by Ms. Emily Leitner, but the council has recommended that Ms. Devon will serve in the next 3 years in this role.
Okay, well, we appreciate her willingness to serve. Anybody have any questions on this particular appointment?
Doesn't look like it, Coach.
Okay, thank you. We'll move right on to C, reappoint Steve Horde to serve as a Post 11 representative at large on the city's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a term expiring on February the 15th, 2024. Ms. Jackson.
Yes, sir. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. Mr. Horde, he has served his initial term, which is about 1.5 years, in the Post 11 position. This post, or Post 9 through 13, are at-large positions or must be served by a coach or administrator or someone who uses the city facilities. He would like to be reappointed, and no other individuals would like to serve in this position at this time.
All right, thank you for that. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Jackson?
No, sir, it doesn't look like it.
All right, well, we appreciate all those willing to serve. Okay, we appreciate all those willing to serve, and Madam Mayor, if it would be okay with council, I would like to place these 3 on the consent agenda for Monday.
I see heads nodding, so that's a general consensus of yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I had tonight. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. That's all I had tonight on the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Tourism.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to Technology Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Terry Miller, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Technology Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on then to Transportation Committee, and that's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShun Byrd Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight under the Transportation Committee. It's authorize the mayor to sign a project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for the city's Dallas Highway LCI project.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. April McCown, Planning Manager, 6701 Church Street. What you have in front of you is the project framework agreement for the Dallas Highway project, which is in preliminary engineering. It is a legally binding document in which encompasses what will be responsibilities as laid out by GDOT and by the city. And as you recall, preliminary engineering on this project is a $250,000 total expense, $200,000 being from the ARC by way of GDOT and $50,000 promissory from the city.
Thank you, Ms. McGowan. Just a question, is this specifically directed to the underpass or the 92 project as a whole?
It's actually not related to the 92 project as it relates to that specific, you mean the overpass, or the underpass, I'm sorry? Yes, ma'am. So this is the Dallas Highway project going from Strickland Street all the way down to that connection of where 92 meets Dallas Highway.
Right.
It encompasses the roundabout proposal at where Stewart Middle School is. And then it's a multi-use pathway. That's how GDOT defines it. So allowing for the north side redevelopment plan to come to fruition.
Okay. And the money has already been allocated, for those that may not know, it's already been allocated for this. Okay. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, just want to make sure, Mr. McCowan, you said it was a $250,000 budget, and there was $200,000 provided federally, and then the city would be responsible for that match of 50, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And then also, if you want to read something that's really interesting, you can read all the paperwork in there. But under Exhibit A also talks about the immigration agreement, just making sure that that everything is checked off as it relates to immigration. And we do that already. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions or comments, I'd like to add this to the consent agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Madam Chair. We'll move on then to other business. Do we have any other business to come before council tonight from council members? I would just like to thank Georgia Department of Transportation and our Public Works Department. We did have a railroad closure this week. They were doing general maintenance on McCarley, Cedar Mountain, and 275. And so it was closed for a while, and then Hope Lumber, Marie's Lane, it was some closures this week, and so we were able to get those done within a day and open back up the railroad crossings. So we apologize to the citizens for all of the construction that's going on and the inconvenience, but we are trying to wrap things up for Highway 92 relocation. It's going to be really nice once all the growing pains are done. So we apologize for having to have those crossings closed, but they're open now today. So that's all the other business that I had. Anyone else have anything?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a comment in regards to the crossing closings. I just wanted to say thanks to Mr. Roberts for just alerting the mayor and council and the closings. It was like, I know it's not his fault, but I wish that Norfolk Southern could give a little bit more notice. Yesterday, it was a total traffic jam.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, it was horrible. I mean, traffic was backed up all the way. It was just on all ends, so.
Oh, really?
I know they tried, and we tried to ask them to give the notice as early as possible because people could be rerouted, especially in the event of an emergency. Councilman Davis and I saw that. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
glad that it's done for a minute. But I would just suggest that they can give us a notice, not just like 30 minutes ahead of time. That is.
Yes, ma'am. Now, we do have a liaison for Norfolk Southern, don't we, when we used to meet with GDOT, City Manager?
Mr. Roberts made some calls after yesterday because we both were witnessing what was going on. So they have agreed to try to improve the communication because they do the track maintenance, if you all know, a couple times a year, probably twice a year. This is probably one of the worst traffic issues that we've had since working with them, but we were able to get in touch with them today.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
It was
Mr.
a nightmare
Councilman.
if they had a designated couple of officers with a whistle and a flag to get them in and out.
Yeah, just the advance notice would have provided our police department, fire department notices just to be able to assist. I mean, traffic was backed up all the way to Brownsville Road for over 2 hours or more.
Wow. We're so sorry about that and the inconvenience. And as City Manager said, and Mr. Roberts has talked to someone from Norfolk Southern, we'll make certain that we try to ask them we're at their mercy, but if they could really give us more a heads up so that we can tell our citizens and have people reroute, because if you don't know when you're driving to work or wherever you're going to be late for school or wherever you have to go.
Right. But I do appreciate his tenacity in getting that information out quickly so that we could get it out to our residents. And they were grateful for the information that they received, even if it was at the last minute. And I think about Miss Mitchell at Mitchell Appliances. I mean,
Yes.
the parking lot is only so big, so we do understand growing pains, and thank you, Ms. Hampton, for the communication, but that's really important. What may not seem to be important to them is very important to our citizens.
Yes, ma'am. Now, I do have one other announcement if we don't have anything else from council members. We did have the opening for the COVID-19 vaccine at Arbor Place Mall. It's in the Sears parking lot, and they're saying that they're able to administer 900 to 1,000 vaccines a day now. I know they're doing a lot of the second round of vaccines, but I received a text message today, and it was a short turnaround. I think this has happened at the public health before as well, that Dr. Memark texted me at 10:30 and said that they had extra vaccines, and could I get someone that was 1A plus there by 1 o'clock. So if every council member can if you can get a list of maybe 5 names or so, she texted that to Madam Chair and myself, and we called around and got a couple of people in. But if you can just if you have about 5 in that category, if they have extra vaccines that they want to give, it's a quick turnaround. And if we can have a list, and my assistant will have the list. If Dr. Memark calls me again, then I'll say, okay, we have these people on the list. So I know some folks sign up and they have, like, their appointment is next week or something, but if they have extra medicine, how the Moderna and Pfizer works, they can give those medicines out, and they didn't want to waste them. So it's usually really fast. It'll be like 2 hours or so because it's frozen, and they need to give those medicines in a quick turnaround. So if we can get some names to just have on a list in case she texts me again and say, we have some extra vaccines.
So
Yep.
I guess my question, Madam Mayor, is if individuals are making appointments, so they're making appointments, is there not a waiting list that they have?
They do have a waiting list, but, so it's really up to, the vaccine, when they have an overload of, or if they have too much. I don't know how all that works. I don't know if someone she was talking to us about it before, but I know even the police department, they would have a few left in the.
So a lot of times people don't show up for their appointments.
Okay.
And so then they have extra. I have had a suggestion made to me to go to my pharmacist because they have the same issue at Publix and so on. But it is a quick way. You have to be ready to go immediately almost.
I'm just
Madam
wondering
Mayor.
how can, if there's a list that they can just call, because, by the time we call and try to
That's
find
true.
somebody, the time is probably has already expired.
Mhm.
So I just wanted
And
to
then
see.
sometimes I think they had at not the grocery store, at the pharmacy, someone was in line and the person was not 65, but they couldn't find anyone else, and that person went ahead and took the vaccine. So
So you're gonna have
if
those
they have
people.
extra, they don't want to waste it, so they'll just ask people. But she, texted today, and I thought, oh my gosh, let me try to find someone really fast. But if we can have a list, if we can, Councilman Davis.
Next time, Madam Mayor, I work right there closely with Premier, and I keep a list of seniors.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It sits around all day, if waiting on that, get there an hour and boom.
Okay,
So I'll text you my list and.
please do.
And next time, just
I'll
call
call
me or
you
text
if we
me.
can, we'll just make it happen, because we don't want to waste
got a
the
good list.
vaccine.
They called me.
Yes,
And
sir.
we've asked the pastors in the New Horizons area
Mhm.
to go ahead and start making a list of individuals that are interested
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
vaccine. I know that they're doing phases right now, but just go ahead and make that list so that in the future, that they'll be able to contact those individuals. So we could just, get the pastors to coordinate.
That would be great.
That would be good too.
And they don't have to register. She just said, text me their names if you find anyone, and have them come in, before 1 o'clock.
That's good.
So that was today. Well, thank you so much. Any other announcements? We have anything, any staff reports? Okay, then we'll go on to updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Our chief assistant, city attorney, Ms. Woodley.
No other business today.
Thank you so much. The police department, Captain Denny.
No business,
Thanks.
Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Our city manager, Ms. Marcia Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. The only thing I have is just to add to your discussion on the vaccine. City staff, through Jason Post and Community Relations, has put out the website that the governor's office is putting out for registering for the vaccine, even if you are not part of the group that's eligible. The reason that they're doing that is because that's the way that the state's going to be able to determine how many vaccines are needed for the state of Georgia. So we really should be encouraging people who, regardless if you are part of 1A, 1B, or 1C, to go ahead and register on that site, because right now the issue, of course, is supply to Georgia, but that will help to update the supply that's needed in the state. So individuals should register for that site, but we have it on the city's website and through social media.
Oh, great. That's all you had, city manager?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, we do have comments from citizens and delegates, if you'd like to come forward. Yes, ma'am. And you have 5 minutes to address us on any business or potential business germane to the city of Douglasville.
Cindy Welch, 3002 Concord Way, Douglasville. I'm sure you're about tired of me But a few months ago, I was here talking about the driveway that comes out of Coles onto Stewart Mill Road. And before I got home that evening from the meeting, somebody had gone out there and put barrels up, which really, really helped. Well, and then they put the, I don't know what they call those things, and it worked. But when they resurfaced that road, they took them down, and when they put them up, they didn't put them out as far as they had been. So now, here we are. We're not only getting people coming out and making that left turn when it says right turn only, we're getting people coming down Stewart Mill Road and decide they can make a left turn and go in there where it says no entrance. And I'm telling you, somebody is going to get hit. Because those people, you know, they're sitting there and you know exactly what they're going to do. And my daughter and son-in-law just threatened me with my life. But I'm coming off of Chapel Hill and I'm in the turn lane to go into my neighborhood. And I can see what they're doing, so I sit there. And they can't turn because they have to use that to turn. And she said, "Mother, people shoot folks. You better quit doing it." I said, "But somebody's going to get hurt."
So the barrels need to go out a little bit further?
Well, they do, or I don't know if you're familiar with what happened at Bright Star and John West Road, and they put the nice raised median there. Why can they not do that there and make it go out as far as they had those stanchions or whatever they were called to start with? Because people, I mean, they're too lazy to go up to Chapel Hill, take the light. I mean, there's a light.
Yes, ma'am.
It's much safer.
Yes, ma'am. City Manager, do you have the information?
Our Public Services Director, Greg Roberts, is online virtually. He and I are communicating. We'll have some feedback for you on Monday.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sorry.
No problem, Ms. Welch. You don't have to be sorry. You're a concerned citizen and engaged, so we appreciate that. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? I know we don't have anyone online, so we'll move on. Now, we do have an executive session, and I'll open the floor for a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss a proposed sale of real estate, real property, and after we do that, we'll go into executive session after a 5-minute recess.
So moved.
Yes, sir. Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I had a choir, harmony, a duet singing second. So it's been properly moved and second to adjourn into executive session to discuss a proposed sale of real estate property, real property. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned into executive session after a 5-minute recess.